Offensive Rookie of the Year. Key, who's going to be the Offensive Rookie of the Year, in your opinion?
You know, for my money, I think I'm going to go with Justin Fields. And the only reason why is because I believe, I believe that he doesn't start, right? He comes in week 3 or so, and then all of a sudden he does what Lamar Jackson was able to do for the Baltimore Ravens a couple years ago, where he all of a sudden just ignites that offense and becomes spectacular, and then you can't do anything but vote him.
Man's playing with a chip on his shoulder because they said his processor wasn't fast enough. Meantime, it looks just fine so far. What's up, Jay?
I would probably go with Mac Jones here, just considering out of all rookie quarterbacks, he's probably coming into the best situation.
Absolutely,
with the best coach. If Trey Lance were starting week 1, though, I may go with Trey Lance just because of the dual threat in Kyle Shanahan's offense, but I'll go with Mac Jones for the sake of this argument.
I'm going to go with Kyle Pitts. And I know it's a tight end, and, usually go to quarterback, running back. They touch the ball more. But in this case, he's going to a team that just lost Julio Jones, that did everything in the draft to build around Matt Ryan still. He's going to see the ball a lot, and he might be the most touted out of college tight end, at least that I can remember. So I like Pitts as the offensive.
That means you're a believer of Tua to a degree, right? Because if Kyle Pitts is going to be successful, that means Tua has to be successful.
No. Matt Ryan.
Oh, Matt Ryan.
Yeah,
sorry.
But right, because Pitts would have Tua could have used Pitts,
yes.
but they got him Waddle now, and Waddle can turn 5 yards to a touchdown in a heartbeat. All right, Defensive Rookie of the Year, Key. Who you got?
I'm going to take Patrick Surtain. What is it, the second or the third? I keep messing it up. I think it's the second. I'm going to take Patrick Surtain, the second out of Alabama with the Denver Broncos. He's an all-do-it-your-all safety corner slash. He can do so many things in that secondary for the Denver Broncos. This is why the Dallas Cowboys wanted to try and grab him if they could. They took Micah Parsons instead. But you got to think about this defense. Vic Fangio style. What do? They go and shut down the edges with Chubb and Von Miller. Now they let the secondary go to work. If you remember when they were winning those Super Bowls with Talib back there, that's what they do. Harris was back there. They said to themselves, we get the pressure up front with our front seven, and we let the back end go to work for us.
Okay.
Do you know the Dallas Cowboys last year were dreadful, awful, horrible against the run? One of the worst teams in the league against the run, giving up 160 yards per game on the ground. I think Micah Parsons brings a new dimension to this defensive line. I think he adds him a notch due to his speed, his ability to close out defensively. I think Micah Parsons wins Defensive Rookie of the Year.
I'm with you, Jay. I wanted the Giants to grab Parsons, but they had draft deals and stuff, and he went to the Cowboys. And partly because of this, the linebackers looked on paper to be one of the strongest tandems in the league, right? A couple years ago, they have looked terrible the last couple years. Parsons joins that core, and they look better. He's also going to get a lot of credit for that. I like Parsons as Defensive Rookie of the Year. What about Offensive Player of the Year, Key?
Offensive Player of the Year. I would have to say Devontae Adams out of Green Bay. When you look at where they're at in terms of throwing the football, it's a throwing lead. A couple years ago, Michael Thomas out of the New Orleans Saints was the Offensive Player of the Year. Devontae Adams, 115 catches last year, almost 1,400 yards in the air, and he put up 18 touchdowns. He won't win MVP because that typically goes to a quarterback. So they will pass this award down to a running back or even a wide receiver, as we saw in the past, but I think it's Devontae Adams of the Green Bay Packers.
I'm going to take a shot here on one because obviously he's coming back off injury. I'll go with Christian McCaffrey. 1,000 yards rushing, 1,000 yards receiving 2019. Key, when he's fully healthy, man, like there's a big part of me that really wants to bet on him and Sam Darnold. I think those are two people that we are overlooking in Carolina due to Joe Brady and how that offense will be ran. I think Christian McCaffrey has a chance to have a huge, huge year offensively.
Offensive Player of the Year is going to be Patrick Mahomes. If the question is football to me, the answer is Patrick Mahomes. Like it was once upon a time in boxing, right? In the late 90s through the 2000s. Roy Jones, but he's fighting Roy Jones. Kids, if you don't know who Roy Jones is, YouTube him from his prime. That's how I feel like about Mahomes now. I felt that way about Michael Jordan in basketball once upon a time. Mahomes is differently. The only guy who I've ever seen like him is Aaron Rodgers, and I think Mahomes is even maybe a little bit better. I think, especially with the new offensive line, Tyreek Hill, I just think Mahomes can go. You know what? He had that 50-touchdown season, won MVP.
Yeah.
Then he won MVP of the Super Bowl. He could mess around and do both. Like, he could have his best, the guy's something. Defensive player of the year, guys.
Myles Garrett, defensive player of the year. You look back at what Myles did in 2018, he had 13 sacks. So I'm looking for him to have a big year paired with Jadeveon Clowney on the other side. Max, when you talk about a guy who needs to take the next step in their career, is Myles Garrett. Yes, he is phenomenal on the edge. He's phenomenal as a defensive player. But I want to see him go from the 30 to the 20. I don't want to see him take from the 30 to midfield. I need him to take that giant step in his career. So now all of a sudden we can start to talk about him the way we talk about Aaron Donald and Von Miller and T.J. Watt and his brother, whatever his name is.
J.J. Watt.
J.J. Watt. T.J. J.J.
A lot of Watts.
Watt. Yes.
And they can all play.
I mean, he was on his way last year, Key, until he caught COVID. So I'm kind of with Key on Myles Garrett.
Yeah,
T.J. Watt,
Garrett's a
obviously.
beast.
Aaron Donald is a beast. I'm going to go with that, man, for the Washington football team, a team that I hope they change their name to the Washington Red Wolves, to be real with you. I love the Red Wolves logo and the whole thing they stand for, but I'll go with Chase Young, defensive rookie of the year, 6'5", 265 pounds. Watching that
Player of the year. Defensive player
of the year.
Yeah.
Well, last year was defensive rookie of the year.
Yeah.
right?
I thought you're saying. Okay, never mind. Go ahead. Keep going.
Watching him at Ohio State, I knew that he was destined to be different. Last year, he proved that. Would love to see him take 5 steps further this year for a Washington football team that's going to rely heavily on their defense to win the division.
I'm going to go with Chase Young also. I got to say this about Chase Young. When I survey the landscape, who is different, I think, I look at the Bosa brothers, right? How do you get better than that? You could bring up
Nick
Watt.
and Joey, yeah.
How do you get better than the Bosa brothers? I think Chase Young, maybe this year, becomes the best defensive player in football. That's how much I think about his upside. And he's on a great defense, and I think he's the best player on it. Comeback player of the year, Key.
Comeback, it's got to be Dak Prescott. That gruesome injury, a lot of people, held their breath when he got hurt because not only the financial gain that a lot of people thought that he would lose, but just the pure injury in his career. We saw what happened to Alex Smith. We saw what happened to Joe Theismann. And we all looked at ourselves and said, oh, my God, did this just happen again? Now, all of a sudden, here he is coming back to play opening night tonight in the NFL against the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. How do you not give him comeback player of the year?
I see you, Key. I'm going to go with the most polarizing player in the NFL. Whether it's kicking footballs into the kicking net for the Giants, I'm going to go with that guy in OBJ, who I think that we've forgotten how fast and how talented and what this man's catch radius is. I think eventually, I know we talk about Jarvis Landry. I know we talk about all the other options. I know they're a run-heavy offense. But I think Baker Mayfield is going to find chemistry with OBJ. And when they do, that is going to be one of the most electrifying aspects of their offense that we will talk a lot about.
Now, I think these two have to hang out and get to like each other. You know what I mean? I agree with you on the chemistry. If those dudes get a connection, the Browns are going to be impossible. It's a good pick. I like Saquon Barkley. Now, the offensive line is terrible. I realize that. But Saquon had over 2,000 yards from scrimmage as a rookie, behind a line almost as bad, with Eli Manning, who was cooked by that point as his quarterback. He also had 15 touchdowns. Saquon is a threat to score every time he touches the ball. And this whole thing is he doesn't run between the tackles. Give him some tackles. I still think that'll be the comeback player of the year. MVP. Key. Who's going to be the MVP?
It's easy to take Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers, and all of a sudden the flavor of the year is Josh Allen. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm taking Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's my guy. It's his time right now. And I think when you look at Russell Wilson, he's gotten everything he wanted in Seattle. Let's see what he does with it. First half of the season last year, he was an MVP. Let's finish it off, Russell.
Yeah, before he fell off that cliff, Key. I'm gonna go with the flavor of the season, like you said. I'm going with Josh Allen, just because I look at Emmanuel Sanders, Stephen Diggs, Cole Beasley. I mean, that's a trio of receivers, and if they add Devin Singletary with that running game, Josh Allen is going to be special and really surpass what he did last season.
If the question is football, what's my answer, Jay?
Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes.
I know.
Leave it at that.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.